That's the power of SAM and routines. And if you're just using SAM just for a glorified address book, you're missing the point. Let me use this. Let me do this just as an example.
Okay.
I'll try to break this down. So the difference between a workflow is that a workflow will take you from start to finish, all the different things that you've got to do. And inside of that workflow, there are multiple different key dates that have to get something done. One of those key dates, just one of those, is what we call a routine. Okay. And we build a routine off of that one key date. So in this case, I've got this one here for the photography date. As soon as we know a photography date, we put that into SAM. SAM can kick off this routine automatically, and it start doing the things that you got to do based off of knowing we've got a photography process to do. So it will send out one day before the photography, a couple different things, 30 minutes before. On the photography date, it sets it up as the activity for your calendar. One day after, it checks the photography or the photographer doing a checkup. Hey, how's it going? Is there anything you need from me? You know, when am I going to get it? Some people get them right away. Some people take a day or two to get the photography back, depending on what it is. But you set up a routine based off of one key date. And whenever that key date gets filled in, all of these things get magically put onto your calendar, just like a workflow would. The difference is with a workflow, you start the entire monolith of the workflow together. And let's say you don't have an HOA. Well, you've got to go in there and remove certain things out of that workflow before you start it. Well, with a routine, you just don't put in the date. If you don't have an HOA, you don't need the HOA due date. You know, those are things that if it doesn't get filled in, it doesn't start the routine, and it's efficient because it's not making you do things that you don't need to do. But if you do need it done, if it has a date assigned to it, it does the things that you want it to do. And setting up these routines, it's a very what I call deterministic method. It's still AI in a way, but it's very systematic in what it's doing. From the time I get that date, I know that date's important for some reason. What are the things that I need to do based off of knowing that date? As soon as I know that, I can create the routine for it. And then if something changes, I just change the routine. In Don's example, he had to change it in 6 different places because he had 3 for the seller side, 3 for the buy side of workflows. And that's just, totally inefficient. By us doing it, we can just change it one time, and then from that point forward, it's good.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Does those particular actions just right above photography date, send reminder, property photography, all of those, are those entered manually, or how do you?
So you can enter them manually if there's something that if you want to enter them manually, you certainly can. However, there's a process that I recommend you guys doing. Here's one thing. Let's say, for instance, you don't have any routines in there at all, and you want to start using routines. The easiest thing to do is to, whenever you say start just new routine, it'll come up with create a new routine. You can do a blank one. You can create a brand new blank one if you want, or you can come down here and just set up right now. I'm going to add another one here very soon, but you can just set up a reminder routine. And a reminder routine does nothing but add one activity to your calendar that is the reminder of that activity. So let's say we set up a reminder in our closing process. It's a transaction, and it's for the earnest money due date. I'm just going to create this one here. So all this does, if I choose earnest money due date, it creates that as a routine. It'll go ahead and create that one activity in there. If I click in on it, it'll say on 0 days after this date, on the activity time, it's going to put it on the calendar. So in the transaction, if I fill in this date, it's going to immediately start this routine, and it's going to put that date on your calendar. That's all it does. And I know that sounds very basic. It may not make sense, but now I can come back to this and I say, well, if I get that if I'm going to get that money, maybe I need to set up a reminder 1 day before. Okay. Well, I can click on the little plus here and say 1 day reminder. And I want to say 1 day before that earnest money date, I want to send out an email. See, earnest, ERN. Okay, I don't have anything there. I want to add a new one here, and we're going to say earning. Earnest money date due reminder email.
Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah. So, and this is, I mean, there's no telling what it's going to exactly say, but it's going to create something here for me rather quickly.
In our case, we use a lot of WhatsApp. So I know Gabby, she's very good. Sending a reminder, hey, just to let you know.
Right.
On the template that we have, and then sometimes like we forget. And they're like, hey, did you deposit the earnest money? No, it's only been 3 days, and then 4 days, 5 days, and now we're in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what this does is, I mean, this one's for an email. Obviously, you can set up a text message, whatever, but it went ahead and, and created this. You'd want to make some changes because this really needs to go to the buyer technically. Buyer first name on this. And maybe we also want the amount. In this case, we'd say earnest money. So the earnest money that's needed. And then maybe we also want due date. And we're going to click on earnest money due date. So here's just a kind of a quick and dirty email that we've put in here, and I'm going to go ahead and click on save. So it puts it in the list here for me to quick select, and then I can click on save. So now I've got the earnest money is going to be due on a certain date. It'll show up on my calendar. That was the purpose of that one. This one, it'll go out automatically 1 day before to remind them, hey, you need it, or you can set that for 3 days before, whatever the date is. And then you might have a checklist item afterwards. Did I get it or whatever? And based off of having these in this list, things won't fall through the cracks. You have them on your calendar. It'll remind you when it needs to be done, or it'll send out information automatically for reminders. By having this in place now, I can, if I know when the earnest money is due, as soon as I fill that out, it automatically does all of these things as reminders on my calendar, or whoever needs it on their calendar. So maybe it's both Cody and I need it on our calendars. We can specify more than one. So by having those things on the calendar, we see it on the calendar. Oh, I should be having that earnest due today. And then, I can make the call if I wanted to, or whatever, double checking it. Did I get it? You could even come in here and make a checklist item. Received earnest money. Now, what you might do is you could have it as a checklist, but you could do it as a field validation. And I would probably say we would create an earnest money received date. And soon as you get it, you could fill in the received date, and then that could start a different routine based off of receiving that money. I now need to send my confirmations. I need to proceed with whatever. So you set up the routines to automate those processes that you would normally do. And then you can use a checklist. I'm going to go ahead and select this one. But basically what will happen is whenever this comes due, I could have the earnest money received date here, and I go to complete that activity. It'll pop up and say, hey, when did you receive it? You can fill in the date right there. It would then put that date into the transaction. And then if there is a routine on that date, then it would start its routine. So your routines would start other routines based off of these key dates, these important dates getting filled in. That's what we do as part of the co-pilot, is figuring out what it is that helps automate you. What is it that's going to make you more efficient? And then setting those things up and helping you get those started running in there. So little plug there for co-pilot, but anybody can do this. It's just a matter of thinking through it and knowing what is it that I want to do. If I get a certain date, what is it that we want to do? Anybody there?
We're here.
Okay.
Watching you riff.
Everybody went silent. And that's like, oh no, did I just talk too long? And
It's processing. Like there's many things we could be putting together.
Absolutely. And that's the power of SAM and routines. If you're just using SAM just for a glorified address book, you're missing the point. There's just so much more that you can do, especially with events. Going back to the Eventbrite piece. If you're using Eventbrite, registrations come in, that registration then fills in that new registration date. Let's kick off some routines that do things based off of that date getting entered now. And it can be a different date than one of the other dates. And maybe whenever they attend, you have an attended date, which we do have in there. You fill out that attended date, but maybe it's a different attended date, and it starts a routine. So now maybe they're on a special email series based off of them attending that event. Here's 30 more days worth of emails that go out that plug what you're doing and helps promote them to get the 3 casas in 3 years.
3 years. Yeah, that's something that we are we get a lot of people registered. So what we're doing is that now we're like, hey, you miss this seminar, can you come to the next one? So we don't touch it until the following month, and we don't buy them. So we need to start creating a routine where
as soon as they register, it kicks them into a series of routines. And if they don't attend, then maybe that did not attend date, whatever.
And how do we know they're not attending? Well, we
have to have some registration page. You'd have to have them go through, or whenever you're at the meeting and you're checking people in, as soon as they check in, then you could put in a checked-in date, and then do that routine. Yeah, do that routine. And if they didn't check in, then we know who they are, and we can do something different.
You could also build in, using the lead form in SAM, the ability to have them check in virtually. That could trigger a routine. That would be an easy win, and then it's low touch.
Yeah. The challenge there is especially if you've got one person that registers for 4 people, Now all 4 of them need to check in, but will they? They may not, because and then you've got somebody that did attend, but they don't register it as attending if they're doing it themselves.
That's a good point. That's where you could, from like my brain going into like event marketing, I guess, you could incentivize each person checking in individually with some sort of little bonus.
Yeah.
Make sure you check in. We're doing a ... at the end, or you'll get access to some sort of resource, things like that. That kind of the stick and the carrot, I suppose. Not necessarily the stick, but definitely the carrot.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did that. We did that at the beginning. It was a chaos because what happened in a lot of people. We did a Google register, Google check-in with the QR code, so people. Well, I don't have a Google account. Okay. Oh, I'm using my phone, my son's phone, and we don't have an account with Gmail. So, okay.
You can set the forms so that it doesn't require registration.
And that's something that Rebecca told me. We can set it up where and for some reason, and a lot of people put the information, but they forgot to submit.
Yeah. Well, as soon as what you can do, again, the incentivize them in some way that says, hey, if you do this, you will get this, and make it so that, even if they're a party of 4, all 4 of them get it, but make it worth the person, the individual, to get it themselves.
One of my mentors, a fellow by the name of Russell Brunson, he calls those Mifkeys the most incredible free gift ever, right? So that's like, really figuring out, like, gosh, what is like so good that everyone's willing to like actually give you their Gmail and not like kind of tiptoe around it, or like actually give you their cell phone number. And, that's like, that can be hard at times. It doesn't necessarily have to be something of like high, like financial dollar value. Maybe it's, something that's super valuable to them as far as like information goes, or maybe it's some sort of VIP experience where they get time with you. Those things can be just as valuable. It's, and it's a matter of like figuring out, gosh, like what's going to be so great for them that they're going to just like immediately stop what they're doing and like go for it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's, the expertise in it can save them so much more time that, it's valuable in doing it that way. So,
and that's where you come in, Jose, to like really like send that one home, because gosh, like you've been in this game for so long, there's probably more you've forgotten about those little nuanced insights that would be fundamental changers for them, and I think that those are probably the things that you're already delivering at those events. It's just a matter of figuring out, gosh, like what's that next thing?
Yeah, we went from some papers, because we used to do everything manually here. Now we had the girls and helping us, and we scanned the documents, those papers. And sometimes they can even read what they're saying,
Yeah, that's tough.
And sometimes the email is a 2, it's a 7, it's a 5, and then and that's Rebecca, like, why don't they, put an iPad, she wants to be more like electronic and things, but we go back to like, and sometimes people get stuck there.
Yeah. Well, and keep working at it and getting it streamlined for your process, but we're giving you the tools to do that. That's the important part, is just utilizing those tools and making sure they're available. Everybody else that's listening to this, if you guys have any questions or whatever, if you guys are interested, please reach out to either Cody or myself. And otherwise, have a great day. We will see everybody next week.